Konnichiwa, this is the Shogunstein, and this is some initial thoughts on the solo game Hercules and the 12 Labors, based on the Greek myths. It's from Envy Born Games, one player, 30 to 60 minutes, ages 14 plus. We picked it up on Amazon for $30. So, give you my initial thoughts here. I do have a side hustle in history, and I'm not working over the summer. It's hot, so I'm inside. It's like 110. I live in the Southwest, and my side hustle is off for the summer. So, nice solitaire game to play inside, stay out of the heat a little bit, keep me busy. That was the rationale for getting this. And again, I'll give you my initial thoughts on the game. So, first thing with that in mind, that I was looking for something that's kind of, kill time and beat the heat. One nice thing about the game is it is a true solo game. It's not a game with a solo mode, so it's a good solo game designed for solo. And the setup and the cleanup is very easy. So that's a good bonus. Also, you can tell from the box, you can tell from the cards, the art on this game is gorgeous. That is another plus here. I do enjoy the art. And the flavor text, the story of the 12 Labors is interesting. I like reading it. Again, I do like reading, and I do have a side hustle that does sometimes involve teaching about the Greeks and the Romans and the myths. So I do like the side text. Now, the game is very luck-based. You're chucking dice, and there are a number of things that are going to happen that are going to modify your rolls, but you're doing through the 12 labors, and these are the dice for the labors. I'm over here now, and this is the starting value, and as the game goes on, you're going to lose health. This recharges the life of the labor. This is you do have an ability sometimes that can block one of the negative losing heart. So this lets you block it. This means you can't block it. This you lose 2 lives. You get the dice, gets over here now, and the game's over. Also, to win the game, you have to get your spirit all the way up to here. So you can lose this way, throughout the game. If you lose hearts, you can lose this way. Or if you don't defeat the labor and you get to the skull, you lose also. And again, you're rolling dice. There are different modifiers, and the deck is numbered. It's very easy to set up and get this thing going. Now, some of the things to keep in mind here in playing this game, again, with the dice chucking, it's very luck-based, and it reminds me a little bit of a game that I used to play solo. I got rid of it not too long ago, but that was the solo mode of Dice Miner. Now, this game, the mechanics really aren't anything like Dice Miner, but what I'm saying is that Dice Miner was kind of like easy to set up, just kind of kill time, chuck some dice, maybe before dinner, after dinner, killing some time. It reminds me a little bit of that, in just that it was just easy to take out. You didn't have to really think about it too much, and you can just easy set up, easy clean up, and just chuck some dice and kill some time. So it reminds me a little bit of that, not in theme, not in other than the dice, being that there be dice, but just if you can think of a solo game that way, that's kind of not very thinky, because again, this is very luck-based. Now, some of the other things besides it being luck-based that to throw out there is you get these mood cards that you're going to play each time you go after a different labor. There's a deck of the mood cards. You pick them randomly. Most of them aren't good, and in this case, at the start of this labor, I would lose 2 health. And it resets with each labor. So one thing that happens to me all the time is sometimes you forget to replace the mood card or take a new mood card. That's something that comes up. It's easy to forget the mood card, and that can mess things up. Also, there's a lot of modifiers as you go through the game and you defeat, one of the other labors. You get some bonuses that help you modify your die rolls. And in this case, you get 3 extra hearts. This lets you convert to here, so that way you can win the game. A 6, can turn to a tree, or a tree to a 6. Re-roll, get an extra dice. Add 1 or take away 1 from your roll, costs you health. So there's a lot of things you can do to modify to win here. The problem is it's a lot to keep track of. So again, some of the things that happens to me a lot when I've played this is, okay, I'm going to do this mechanism where I'm going to change like a 1 to a 6, so that way I could, or something, 2 to a tree, whatever I'm going to do, that I got to remember to take away a heart. But then let's say, when I get to this part of the game, and let's say, I didn't kill it goes to the next, but I got to take 2 heart away from here. It's easy to lose track. Did I take the heart away? Did I remember to do this heart? So it's gets to be a little cumbersome to keep track of, did I do all these things? And as the game goes on, you're going to get more of these things, which again makes it, gives you more powers, which is cool, but it's hard to keep track of some of these things. Now, I'm going to throw another solo game that this reminds me of, and again, has nothing to do with the mechanics or the team. Shogun Solitaire is a game that I got, a few months back, purely solo. Small box game. This is a small box game. And Shogun Solitaire, for a small box game, came with a rule book that was just meh and forced you to have to kind of look things up and, look at videos and try to figure things out. For a small solo game, there was a lot of work to do to figure out the rules. This rule book isn't that great either, and I had to watch, a number of videos on, some clarifications, and also go to that website that I don't particularly like too much on some of the clarifications. So again, for a small kind of network time killer game, rulebook could be better. Also, it's very difficult. It is very difficult, and I've only made it to like the 4th or the 5th labor. So that's good that it's difficult, because you're not, you're gonna, again, there's only 12 labors, but trust me, it's gonna take you a while to get there. And again, between keeping track of all this stuff, so it is difficult, but you're gonna have to kind of start over and go through all this again. There is a thing in here to, kind of modify that a little bit to kind of pick up in the middle, but it could be a little bit of a pain to do that. So, again, it's a difficult game, so that's a plus or a minus in that you're going to have to kind of start from the beginning again. And again, it's very luck-based. Sometimes right at the gate, you get a bad mood card or a couple of bad rolls, and there's really not much you can do. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, that it's very luck-based. At the same time, it is difficult, but again, you can modify things to help you out, but in the end, you're rolling the dice. And another thing to keep in mind is this is a small box, okay? Beautiful art. So keep that in mind too. But for the small box with basically a deck of cards with nice art, yes, and some dice, $30. That's not cheap. $30 for a tiny game that, again, that's a deck of nice cards, but it's a deck of cards and some dice. So that's something to keep in mind also. So my initial thoughts on this game, mixed. It is serving its purpose. It's keeping me busy when it's 110 degrees outside and there's really not much to do outside. And I am on vacation from my gig economy job in history. And also, again, it's serving its purpose. I could easily, pack this up, easily, put it out here again. So again, that was serving its purpose. It's supposed to be kind of quick network time killer, but again, the rule book not great. A lot to keep track of. The mood cards, all these modifiers. It's a lot to keep track of. Making sure you did everything on here, and in the end, it is ultimately just. Again, there are things that modify the dice, but in the end, you're just really rolling dice. There's really, not a lot of strategery to it. Again, how you use your modifiers does, but in the end, there's really not a lot to it. So, again, a little bit of mixed feelings on this. Again, these are some initial thoughts. I got a long ways to go in trying to beat this game, so I've gotten a lot of plays in. So again, anytime you get a game and you do get a lot of plays, you can only be so mad at it. And again, back to the $30 price tag, I've already, if you look at it that way, I have gotten my money's worth. I played it a bunch of times, so that's always a good thing. But in the end, I don't know that I really accomplish anything because again, in the end, you just, you're rolling some dice. So those are my initial thoughts on Hercules and the 12 labors. I'll post a follow-up after maybe get a little further in the game, and maybe, there's some more rules clarifications on that website I don't like to go to, and we'll let you know if any of our thoughts on that change. But this is one, and again, I don't know how you would necessarily do this because it's a solo game, so it's not like you can go, maybe if your buddy has this or your friendly local game store has a demo copy. I would definitely play around with this game if you can before buying it because, again, I have mixed feelings on it at this point. So that's my initial thoughts, Hercules and the 12 labors. This is the Shogunstein out.